What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to Omar BYT, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Beyond the Pitch. Last, apologies for the little delay that we had earlier. There was a miscommunications on basically this timing, and basically that's why I actually ended up having to get rid of the previous schedule and making a new one. But big ups to everybody who's here, who's locked in already, guys. Big up to all of you who were here earlier. Hopefully, you guys find this link soon, guys. But listen, this is Barcelona PSG themed Beyond the Pitch show today, and I do have on my counterpart a PSG fan. Big ups to you, man. What's going on?
Thank you, man. Pleasure to be on here. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm doing great. How are you?
Hey, man, listen, man, I'm doing absolutely great, man. And big ups to you for being here, man. I know, listen, at the end of the day, yeah, you know, when you live, I live in the US, you live, where do you live again? You live in Switzerland?
Sweden.
Oh, Sweden. Yeah, you live in Sweden. So yeah, the time zones, bro, it's kind of crazy. It's very, very hard to make these schedules sometimes. And sometimes things like this do unfortunately do happen. But listen, guys, yeah, big up. Listen, before we do continue, guys, make sure you guys subscribe to PSG in it. The link to his channel is actually on the title, guys. You will see it there. But yeah, guys, this is gonna be a PSG Barcelona themed. And listen, man, how you doing, man? Listen, I know there's a stark contrast between our clubs, basically. My club is currently doing well, thankfully, and unfortunately for you, I mean, it's okay, I guess, in the league, but in the Champions League, it's a kind of a different story, isn't it? What are you saying, man?
Yeah, I mean, we just haven't been good. I would say a lot of people try to find the reason we're not performing good. I think a lot of it has to do with the manager, but obviously not replacing Kylian Mbappe, that's also affected us a lot. We didn't buy a single attacker in the summer transfer window.
No.
Yeah.
And you know what? I do agree in a sense. And listen, I'll say this, right? Obviously from the title, you do say this says is it over for Luis Enrique? I've seen your video, and it seems that you've kind of gotten to that point now where you're just like, yeah, you've had enough, haven't you?
I've had enough because he hasn't. Yeah, I've had enough because he hasn't adjusted. Well, I've said we can keep Luis Enrique. I just want him to change because we've been doing the exact same thing, the exact same problem secure, and he doesn't want to change. He doesn't want to adjust. He doesn't want to adapt. And I'm like, all right, get the fuck out of it. If you don't want to fix the issue and make us into a successful team, you can go. But I can keep him as long as he starts adjusting his stuff. But he doesn't want to do that. And now, finally, reports have come that there is pressure from the club. But some other reports came out that said even if we get grouped, if we get eliminated in the group stage, we will still give him time, which is absolutely disgusting.
No, absolutely. And I'll say this, right? The fact that if you kind of think about in the Champions League, right, all the French teams are currently doing well except PSG. That's actually the crazy thing. Like, Brestois have started well in the Champions League. Like, they're literally like making their debut in the Champions League, and they're currently unbeaten, right? I think they've won every game, or I think they've only drawn one game, right?
Yeah, 3 wins and 1 draw.
There you go. And you've got and then you also have what's his name? What is their name again? Monaco. They beat Lille. Bro, look at Lille. Lille beat Real Madrid, Atletico, drew against Juventus. Like, they've literally had a tougher start than you guys, and they're currently doing so well, right?
Yeah.
Monaco have started well. I think they've won every game so far in the Champions League so far, or maybe like bar draw or something.
The same as Brest. Yeah, 3 wins and 1 draw, yeah.
That's my point, right? So, and this is the thing, right? The disappointing thing about PSG is you guys are playing teams that are technically not even like doing well. Like, you lost to Arsenal. We've seen how poor Arsenal have been this season. You lost to Atletico, who lost at home to Lille. So I don't understand. Like, there is no excuse for me to why your season, you guys have had the start to the Champions League this season. Honestly, because I look at it and I'm like, who have you played? You play Atletico, who you should have beaten. You played against an Arsenal team who, on their day, can be beaten. Who else have you guys played in the Champions League so far?
Girona.
Bro, don't even get me started on that Girona game. I actually had the misfortune of going back and watch the highlights. I was keeping my eye on the game because I was doing a watch along on that day. And the crazy thing is, you guys had so many shots and none of them were on target. I'm like, bro, your attack genuinely, I was like, bro, how poor was your attack on that game? Because I didn't watch the game. But I was like, you guys had so many shots. And there was like, I think you guys had like 15 shots in the first half and 0 was on target. I'm like, how do you have 15 shots and you can't even touch the goalkeeper one time in the game? Like, seriously, what did you think?
Because the shots are taken from desperation. Sometimes, you take shots because you're in a great opportunity. But at PSG, it's desperation. As soon as you are 30 meters away from the goal, you start thinking, oh, I can score. So it's a bit of selfishness, but it's also desperation. And it's actually the opposite to what you said. PSG, we always have a bad first half. And then in the second half, we try to pressure for the goal. And you can't get a goal like that. You can't press for it. It's like if you want a girl, you can't just fucking attack her. She doesn't want you. You need to play the game. You need to from far away. So, yeah.
No, you
overshoot.
Know what? Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, we just overshoot on low XG chances and expect to score instead of actually waiting, taking a little bit more time, being a bit more patient, being less selfish, and creating better chances.
No, and you know what? I completely understand. But I'll say this, right? What do you think of PSG's recruitment so far? Because I'll say this, right, before you do continue, right? My biggest criticism of PSG's recruitment for the past few years was I believe that you guys were going after quantity over quality. You understand what I'm saying, right? Instead of going out there and actually signing players who actually improve you, you were more interested in getting the big names. And it's fine to get big names, but the problem with getting big names is you kind of fall in the space that kind of Real Madrid are right now, where they are so good, right? They were so good last season because they had quality players in the right areas, and they had players who were in the right places in the team, and that is why it worked out. You've seen this season them adding Mbappe, right? Them adding Mbappe has actually made them worse. Why?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, as great as Mbappe is and as a big name as Mbappe is, did they need a player like Mbappe in their team? People might say yes. People might say, well, yes, Mbappe is needed at any club. Absolutely. But I believe that if the old saying is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why do you need to fix something that wasn't broken in the past? The thing is, there was a time with PSG when you guys first bought, right? We used to play you guys frequently in the Champions League, right? I used to think with PSG, they were a team that were not exactly in challenging for Europe or any of those stuff in the early 2010s. They get bought by the Qataris, right? In the beginning, you had to buy the bigger players. You got in Thiago Silva, Maxwell, Ibrahimovic, Matuidi, all of these players, right? And what was important was you bought top players, but you also bought like good players around them, right? And you look and you saw the potential that the PSG team had, where you were like, okay, they were not just buying quality players, they were also buying the best players also in their league, like Matuidi, getting Matuidi from Toulouse. I think you guys got Matuidi from Toulouse. Sako was from your academy. Kimpembe was from the academy. Yeah.
Ariola Academy, Rabiot Academy.
Do you see what I'm saying? Right? And that blend of buying stars, but also looking at your own team, looking at your academy, looking at your league, it was actually working out. I believe the way it started to change was funny enough when Neymar arrived. Because the moment that Neymar arrived, you started doing this mini Galactico thing where you were just trying to go and just buy superstars and just hope that all these superstars can just all work together and it can just build a superpower. The problem is this, right? Doing something like that, it doesn't usually work. I'm sorry. Think about the Galacticos we've known in our history, right? The first Galactico I ever saw was the Galacticos of the early 2000s, Real Madrid. That team was ridiculously stacked. This is not PlayStation. This is not FIFA or EAFC. You can't just go around just buying superstars and just hoping that it's just going to work because they're all superstars. No. The problem with having superstars is there's something called ego. And I know as a PSG fan, you've seen this because it's the egos that actually ended up making you guys decline the way you did, because you had Neymar who had an ego, who thought he was going to be the best player. And you had Mbappe who had an ego, who believed he should have been the best player, right? And that ego clash was actually what for me kind of ended up not making you guys reach where you guys could have been. What do you think?
No, I think Neymar and Mbappe, for the majority of their time at the club, from early on into the middle, pretty much, it was very successful. We reached a UCL final for the first time in our history. We reached a UCL semi-final the season after, second time in our history. But then I think when we bought Messi, that was just overdoing it. We bought one extra star, but instead of strengthening the rest of the squad, and that affected us. The thing is, I think the Neymar Mbappe era, me as a PSG fan, I was satisfied with it. I was happy with it. It was unfortunate how we went out. Like, we shouldn't have gone out to United. We could have done better versus Madrid. We should have gone through versus Madrid the second time and so on. But obviously, if we talk about PSG now we're doing the complete opposite. Before it was just superstars. Now it's just young players that potentially could become superstars. And what we're talking about in the beginning of QSI, we had that great blend of stars and great players. Now we only have like system players, squad players. We don't have the stars. So yeah, I don't like that we've gone entirely in one. Before it was only superstar direction, and now it's only youngster direction. There always has to be some kind of mixture, and I think that's one of the reasons. Yeah, I think that's why we're lacking.
Yes,
in the UCL, you need superstars, you need world class players, you need moments players, and I think that's what PSG are lacking at the moment.
No, and I completely understand that, because I think that is, for me, the philosophy that you guys who started with. When you got away from that, you could see the changes, right? For me, I just felt like, this is the thing. You see, you guys getting Neymar. It was a smart idea. Don't get it twisted, right? Neymar was a player who had the potential to be the superstar. He was considered the future of football, right? So you guys getting him was great. And even getting Mbappe, it was actually pretty good. You were looking at it and you were like, bro, look at the potential of what this could be. You had a player in Neymar who was going to be the star, and Mbappe who was potentially going to be the next superstar, right? And you were like, okay, all you have to do now is to just build a team around these guys. You understand what I'm saying, right? Don't go around just buying superstars for the sake of buying superstars. And I feel like that was where the problem ended up becoming, right? You started going out trying to get other players like Icardi, trying to get players like Messi. Like, I'm not saying, listen, I get it. Messi was available, and the Messi available, you go get him. That's fine. That's all fine and good. But you also have to think, okay, if we buy Messi, how is this system going to work? What are we actually playing if Messi actually arrives? Let's say, okay, this is the style we're going to play. And also, this is where it's important, right? When you get a player like Messi, you also need to think of who is the manager. The problem was, you guys also, and this is my biggest thing was, you guys had the right ideas, but there was just one thing that you guys were doing that ended just messing up the whole other stuff. You understand what I'm saying, right? So at first, when you guys had Neymar and Mbappe in the team, and you guys had Tuchel, I was like, okay, the Tuchel thing, I can see it, right? Tuchel was a manager with great potential at the time. He had just he just left Dortmund, right? So you guys brought in Tuchel, right? He was doing well. He took you guys to a Champions League final. And then the following season, because he didn't have a good start, you ended up sacking him. And it's like, that is where it's like you're shooting yourself in the foot, because, okay, it wasn't a good start of the season, but give him time. He's already shown you that he has a plan. He has a plan with the team, right? And listen, maybe you can give me more, you can elaborate more. Did you think that the sacking of Tuchel was there was more to it than meets the eye?
Yeah. Look, Tuchel went through great bad form straight after the UCL final. I mean, there was a lot of context. We didn't have money throughout COVID. Because of COVID, we played the UCL after at the end of the summer, and then we didn't have a good break. So the performances and the results definitely affected Tuchel being sacked. But I would say the main reason Tuchel was sacked, there was a huge rift between him and the sporting director at that time, Leonardo. And it was either getting rid of Leonardo or Tuchel. So that makes it a bit bigger. But yeah, I do agree in the sense that what you're talking about is previously we're focused too much on building a great team, which is great, but we haven't focused at all on getting in the right manager. Because sure, we sacked Tuchel. If we had gotten in another, top coach, it wouldn't have looked bad. We brought in Mauricio Pochettino, who has absolutely no UCL experience. Sure, his Tottenham side was good, but managing Tottenham and then managing Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe is two totally different stuff. So, and then we got Galtier after that as well. So, Yeah, I mean, that's why I was happy when we got Luis Enrique, because we finally got a manager that has UCL experience, that has won the UCL before, that has managed big players before. So it's just that it feels like Enrique came in the wrong time period.
Yes,
like Enrique
I
could
was
have been
just
our
about to
manager
say
when we
that.
had the superstars, and maybe Galtier or Poch would have suited this young team more.
And you know what's funny, right? I think that if you guys had Enrique around, let me say, 2017, 2018, kind of the time when he left Barca. You see, when he left Barca, if you guys had hired him when you guys got Neymar, I think that would have been literally the perfect time to get him. You understand what I'm saying? Because for me, I would have, because you're right. The thing is, you see, if you want to build a great team, a powerful team, you have to blend ego with players who understand their place. If you look at right now at Barcelona, right?
Yeah.
Us hiring Hansi Flick, right, was literally a mustard stroke, because you brought in a manager who can blend the youngsters, and also these youngsters understand that they are the youngsters, right? They understand that Lewandowski is the star, Yamal is the star, right? Players like Rafinha, they understand that, listen, we are not the superstars, but we're just the second guys behind the superstars, and we are fine with that, just as long as the team plays well, right? And this is where, for me, the biggest problem was, because even Madrid, I just mentioned Madrid. If you look at Madrid pre-Galacticos, and I mean the Galacticos before, right, in the early 2000s, right, they were actually a very good team. They were balanced. They were doing well in the league. They were winning Champions Leagues. And then when Florentino Perez arrived, he started buying superstars. And slowly, as time went on, you saw them slowly every season just getting worse. And the reason they were getting worse is because all the superstars were like, yo, I should be the main man. I should be the main man. I should be the main man. And eventually, it got to a point where it just ended up combusting, and that's why Florentino Perez left the first time, because he realized, yo, I just built a beast, and I can't handle this. I can't handle these guys, right? And the thing is, at Real Madrid, I'm sorry, at PSG, right? When Neymar started having those injuries, and Mbappe started stepping up and becoming the star, right? That's where, for me, the issue started happening, because now if PSG started, and Mbappe started looking at it and saying, bro, you're barely even fit. I'm literally the guy that's literally carrying this team all season, every season, right? And Neymar's ego couldn't handle it. Do you understand what I'm saying? And for me, I was kind of in that illusion where I was like, Neymar wanted to leave. There was a point that he wanted to return to Barcelona. PSG should have kind of looked at it and said, listen, you're barely even playing in the team. You're barely even playing in the team, and you're acting like this, bro. If you're acting like this, then just go. I believe that when it comes to PSG, they got rid of Neymar, but for me, they took too long to get rid of him, because it got to a point where his presence at the club was starting to have an issue, and that's why you saw the rift between him and Mbappe, and that's kind of what ended up making him leave eventually, forced PSG to have to sell him. But they were kind of backing on this. Oh, we have Neymar, we have Mbappe, we have Neymar and Mbappe. But you were thinking about it, and you were like, as a fan, and listen, you know this more than me, right? Neymar was barely even playing. Every season, I think he's got play on average, 15 games? 15 to 18 games a season?
No.
On average, something like that.
In the league, yeah. In all comps, maybe played up to 30 games, yeah.
But that's the thing. But that's not why you spent 222 million. That's not what you expect from your record signing. If you think about it.
Yeah, for example, you brought up when he wanted to leave. I mean, it was great that we didn't sell him at that point, because season after he was elite for us and we reached the Champions League final.
Yes.
When it comes to the Neymar and Mbappe thing, I don't want to blame Neymar. I could blame Mbappe, but I don't want to blame him either. Both players just want to be the star of the team. That's why Neymar left Barca. That's why Mbappe wanted to become. That's why Mbappe is having issues now at Real Madrid. Both have that alpha mentality. They want to be number one. And I mean, it's great that I have two players that want to be the number one. The issue was that, for example, Galtier. No, Poch. Yes. When Poch came in, he made Mbappe into the main man, built the team around him, and that was the best version of Mbappe we've seen. Season after, Galtier comes in, and he makes Messi and Neymar into the main man of the team. And Mbappe didn't like that at all. Created a lot of drama and everything. Then he got the penalties and the situation and everything. So, if there's anyone I could blame it on, I blame it on the club. Because the club didn't choose, like we chose Neymar as the main man when we bought him. Like 3 seasons later, it's like we switched from Neymar to Mbappe, but we did it like behind Neymar's back. We gave Mbappe the penalties without telling Neymar he got the penalties. And obviously, we promised, we made some promises to Mbappe that we would sell Neymar behind Neymar's back once again. So if there's anyone I want to blame, it's the club. We couldn't control them. I mean, Neymar was a bit more okay. Mbappe, we definitely couldn't control. We just kept feeding the beast, gave him more money, gave him more power, and that's why he's now gone to Madrid, and he expects what we did for him that Madrid did for him.
Is that thing, right? You know, when you have a child and you just keep giving them everything and you never say no to them, eventually when you go somewhere and someone tells them no, they don't know how to handle the word no.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. See, this is what I've always said about PSG, right? PSG have a lot of potential. The problem with PSG is they let players control how the club should be run, which it should be the other way around. I'm sorry. I believe that PSG, okay, in Europe, you guys are not heavyweights, right? You're not heavyweights in Europe, but you are a big club. You are a big club. Let's call it for what it is, right? Yes, I know you guys are in the Champions League, but I believe that until you win the Champions League, and that's how I always look at every club, right?
Okay.
For me, until you win the Champions League, you are not a European heavyweight yet. That's why I don't put Arsenal over there. This is not even disrespect to Arsenal. Arsenal is a big club. They're a big club in England. They're a big club all over the world, but in Europe, they're not. They're not, with all due respect, right? And PSG are kind of there too. The thing with PSG, but that doesn't change the fact that PSG is a big club that have had success, right? And I understand that they may not have the pull that other leagues, that other teams have, right? And the reason they don't have that pull, for me, is because of your league. It's not because of PSG, because PSG have the money. You understand what I'm saying? Right? PSG can offer anyone anything, right? The thing is, some players don't want to play in Ligue. They would rather play in the Premier League. They would rather play in La Liga. They would rather play in those leagues, right? Because those are the leagues that are watched frequently, right? That's why you saw City. It was easy for City to attract players, not just because they had the money, but also it's the Premier League. You understand what I'm saying, right? You're going to the Premier League, to the best league in the world. You understand what I'm saying, right? And for me, I look at PSG and I'm like, PSG could do what Bayern does. Because if you look at Bayern Munich, right? I know now things have kind of changed with Bayern, right? But in the earlier years, when you look at Bayern, right? Bayern's most successful eras was always the era where they would always get the best players in their league. And I think that you guys were very good at doing that in getting Barcola, right? Barcola was one of the best players in the league at the time. The fact that you guys got Barcola from Lyon, I looked at that, I was like, this is actually a smart move from PSG. PSG have actually looked into their league and said, wait a minute, this guy's actually a good player. Let's go get him. You understand what I'm saying, right? Right now, who's other players I'm thinking of? Jonathan David. He's a player who's been highly rated, right? PSG should be looking at a player like that and saying, this guy's doing well in the league. He already knows the league. We should be looking at him instead of going out and trying to get an Osimhen and all that. I'm not saying those guys are not going to work out, but it shows that you keep your eye on your league. And when you put the best players in your league, usually that you make your league, you basically assert dominance in your league, but also, right, you have the potential to surprise teams in Europe. I think that in the earlier years, when you guys got a player like Ibrahimovic was the biggest ego. He was the biggest ego in the squad. And the players and the squad that you guys had, they didn't have ego. Maybe some of them had egos, but they all understood that Zlatan is the main man. And that is why in those first 5 years, I believe for me, and maybe you could correct me, but from the outside watching, I think that was like the most stable time to be a PSG fan. That was the most stable time in the club. I believe that after that was when things started becoming unstable at your club. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, 100%. Zlatan being the main man. And the difference as well, for example, when Neymar first came in, he was also seen by everyone as the main man because Mbappe wasn't a competitor. Obviously, there was Cavani, they had the penalty rift, but it wasn't anything big. The main difference also between Neymar as a main man and Ibra is that Ibra doesn't go partying, doesn't do this. He's extremely professional, doesn't say stupid stuff, doesn't do this. So he's someone that you can respect. He's someone that has manners as well. So no, that was definitely the most stable. Like my favorite time as a PSG fan was probably the Blanc era. So from 20
Big up Dancy.
2013, 14 to 15, 16, that period. Obviously, we didn't win a UCL. We got knocked out in the quarterfinal every single year, but we dominated in France. There was no drama. There was no toxicity. And we knew that better times were coming in the UCL as well. So, no, that was, I mean, I think now we're back to that stable time. At the moment, just the results and performances are not that good. But I think now we're at a situation where there isn't that much toxicity. There isn't that much drama. And another thing, before we used to buy players from the age of like between 25 and 28. Now we're buying 23 and younger. Where that means is you're building more of a culture. If you get people here when they're younger, when they're 27, they'll respect PSG a lot. Apart from someone that has accomplished something and at another club and then will come here. It's like sloppy seconds. Now we're taking these players from early go and creating them instead of letting someone else create them and then splashing a lot of money. And then they come here. They don't really know the club. Do they love the club? Do they have a connection? So
they don't have an affiliation with the club.
Exactly.
Affiliation with it. No, and you know what? I completely understand that. And I think that, you know what? It's because when you look at like in Barcelona, right? When you look at the club, the leaders of the club are the Lewandowskis, the De Jongs, the Rafinhas, right? These guys are like what, 28, 27, 34. You know what I mean, right? But around them, you have 23-year-olds, 22-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 19-year-olds. These are players who understand that, we are not the superstars yet. If you look at our squad, right? Yamal is one of the best players, but Yamal understands that even though he's one of the best players in the team, right? He is not the superstar, not yet, but he's gonna be the guy who's gonna be the superstar in the future, right? And with the PSG team, that's what I think that you guys should have had, right? If this team, let's say, had a prime fit Neymar in this PSG team, he would have had so much. He would have had so much freedom to do whatever he wanted. Because he would have understood, because the rest of the team would understand that Neymar is the guy. Neymar is the guy. He's our star. He's the guy who's going to win us the games. He's going to be the main star. And if that doesn't happen, guess what? The criticism will go at Neymar, because they will say, Neymar, this is your team. This is your squad. We build this team around you. You should be the one carrying this team. Right? That's why you left Barca. That's why you left Barca. You said you wanted to be the superstar. Now you are here. You are. You're the superstar at PSG. Now show that you're the superstar. You understand what I'm saying, right? And honestly, I do agree with you. I think that the only way is up when it comes to PSG. I think that you guys are going to a better direction. I do like your recruitment. Right? Getting players like Ugarte. I know he's left now, but Vitinha. Bro, getting Vitinha was a master stroke, right? Nuno Mendes, right? I don't know what you really think of him, but I remember when you guys got him, he was actually a very highly rated fullback, right? Bacola was a player who I've been hearing about ever since he was at Lyon, right?
Neves this summer.
Exactly. And obviously, you guys got Dembele from us, which, listen, I'm happy that you guys took him, because I didn't rate him. I didn't rate him at all, right? And look, at the end of the day, I like what you're doing. I just think that when I look at your team, the only weakness I look into your team is your striking options. Because I don't rate Colomwani. I don't rate him. I don't rate him at all. Gonzalo Ramos, I don't rate him either. I think he's hit and miss. You understand what I'm saying? He's a very, very hit and miss striker, right? I think that what this squad needs is like a gunman striker, like a Victor Gyökeres. You understand what I'm saying, right? If you guys got a Gyökeres who you know can guarantee me 20, 30 goals, right? And the balance of that team, Gyökeres could look at it and say, listen, this is my team. You understand what I'm saying? Because what this squad needs is a superstar. They need that one guy who is going to be the main man, who is always going to be turning up in the big games every single time. You understand what I'm saying, right? And when you get that player, all of the squad will understand, okay, he's the main man. He's the star. He will win us cups. He will win us the games. You understand what I'm saying? Right? And that's what I really do think. And listen, at the end of the day, I still think that Enrique is the guy, but he does need to perform. Because I'm sorry, you should be in the top 16 of the Champions League. I'm sorry, the Champions League is not so ridiculously tough.
And we haven't even played Bayern away and City at home. We played fucking Girona, PSV, and Atletico their ass. So And you remember what you said, like, if Neymar performs bad when the team is built around him, he gets most of the criticism. Because there is no superstar in the team, Lucho is the superstar. So he takes most of the criticism and responsibility because he's experienced. A lot of PSG players, you can say, give them time. They're still young. They're still developing. They're not in their prime yet. Lucho is in his prime. Lucho's already won a UCL. He's the one that there should be no excuses made out of and has to improve 100%. But can I see him win us our first UCL? 100%. 100%. He just has to improve.
I'll be honest with you, right? When I really think about it, this is a perfect analogy. Big up to you, Godfrey. He said, 90 million. Bro, you spend 90 million on Colomwani, bro. Like, honestly, right? What, like, some moves, right? I get it. I'm like, okay, you signed this player for this amount. I get it. The problem with Colomwani is, I watched, this guy was at Eintracht Frankfurt. He wasn't even a gunman over there. I know he scored a lot of goals, but he wasn't like a deadly striker that everyone was looking at in the Bundesliga and saying, oh man, Colomwani, he's one of the best strikers in the league and all of this, right? The fact that you guys spend 90 million on Colomwani for what? Because he's a French international? Because let's call it for what it is. A big reason why he garnered that amount was because of him being French, and also he was in the World Cup final. He was one of your strikers. He was one of your better players, right? In for France, right? When I look at your team, when I look into your squad, right, I'm like, that money would have been so great for a player like Gyökeres, because at least with Gyökeres, you can look at it and say, well, he was doing well at Sporting. He scored like hella amounts of goals, hella amounts of assists. And I know that Arsenal were after him. I know other clubs are after him. But at the end of the day, PSG have the money to challenge those clubs for Gyökeres, right? I remember when... Yeah, go ahead.
No, go. Okay, finish.
So it kind of reminds me of when you guys got Cavani, right? Cavani was a player who was... Chelsea wanted to sign Cavani. I remember, I think Arsenal were after Cavani. There were clubs that were after Cavani when he was at Napoli. But you guys got him. You guys got him because at the end of the day, you understood he wasn't a superstar name yet. He had the potential to be a superstar if he went to a bigger club, right?
Yeah.
And that's why you guys went and took him over, because you were like, listen, this guy, if he comes to PSG, he could literally be one of our best players. And listen, he has been one of your best players. This guy was your all-time leading goal scorer at some point, wasn't he?
Yeah, until Mbappe broke it.
Yeah, and that's my point. And I think that when you look at the squad, the signings that you make is very, very good. Okay, so let me ask you this question. Which areas do you think right now is your biggest worry in this current PSG team?
Position.
Yeah, positions in your squad right now, where you think?
Number nine. It's easy. I mean, we lost Mbappe, and obviously there is no player at the level of Mbappe. So instead of replacing him with one player, you buy like two players. You maybe buy a great left winger. Because the thing with Barcola is like a woman on menstruation. Sometimes he's elite, sometimes he's ass. So maybe Barcola would need some competition. But obviously, the number 9 position, and you've been talking about Colomani, just so you know, Colomani hasn't even been our starter. It's been Marco Asensio. Even worse.
Oh, yeah, I actually forgot he was actually there. Yeah, I actually forgot.
Yeah, no, the number 9 position. And the thing is, look, our sporting director, because he messed up in the summer, he's now trying to sign Gyökeres in the winter. He wants to put all the money.
Yeah, he has to, because he's gonna in the summer. Gyökeres is going.
Yeah, but our manager is saying no. He's saying no. He said that we put 90 for Colo, and look how it works out. I don't want to take a risk again. But as you said, Colo, I think he scored 14 goals in the Bundesliga when we bought him. Gyökeres has 60 goals in his last... No, he has 63 goals in his last 60 games and is the UCL top scorer. So I don't even understand the similarities between them. But I hope we get Gyökeres.
I'm sorry. This is one of those deals. I'm sorry. If I'm the sporting director, I'm doing it ahead of the manager. I don't care, bro. If you resign, you go. I don't care. Because a player like Gyökeres has proven that he can do it, bro. He can score goals. This guy is a gunman striker. Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm sorry. So what? Listen, you spend 90 million on Colomwani. He's not doing well. Asensio is not. He's not the guy. But Asensio is not going to win you a Champions League. With all due respect, I know he's won Champions League, but he's not going to win your Champions League. Column one is not, you're not winning the Champions League with Column one as your striker. Gonzalo Ramos is not winning your Champions League. Think about it. All these players that you guys have now, if this players eventually leave PSG, where do you think these guys are going to go? Are these guys going to get a bigger club? No, they're not. Column one is not going to go to a bigger club than PSG. Let's call
it. No, he's only going to go down. He's only going to...
But that's my point.
There's another guy, Osimhen. Yeah. Our sporting director pushed for him in the summer, but our manager said no because he doesn't want like a number 9. He wants a false 9. So look at Osimhen. He cooked Spurs yesterday. He's been cooking at Galatasaray like 8 goals or something in 3 assists in 6 games.
Yeah, scary. And you know what's crazy, right? If he was a link-up striker, bro, Gyökeres is literally a link-up striker. He literally assists as well. That's why a lot of people want him. It's not just because he scores goals, bro. I think last season he had like 15 assists as a striker. So I don't know what Enrique is talking about. Like, what, does he know watch the Portuguese league? Like, that's gotta be the only reason for me, bro.
I think Luis Enrique, I don't know about Gyökeres entirely, but for example, Osimhen has also an ego. Luis Enrique is like Pep. He doesn't like egos. You know how Pep... Arteta as well. You know how Pep fell off with Yaya Toure, Eto'o, and Ibrahimovic? Some people want to say it's because of racism or something. I think it's because of ego. Eto'o, Yaya Toure, and Ibra, all huge winners, huge alphas. They don't take shit from anyone.
Yeah, their personalities. They speak their minds. They say whatever they think.
Lucha doesn't like personalities. Lucha wants to buy players 23 and younger so that they are his kids the entire time. That's what Pep does. Pep never buys like a player in his prime, 27 years of age. He always buys youngsters because then they will always listen and respect him. No matter what, blindly follow him. And I think that's why we didn't get Osimhen, because Osimhen, he has an ego, and then he creates a lot of drama as well. Like he was fighting with Kvara's agent on social media. Then obviously, you know that Napoli TikTok thing they put out.
Oh yeah. That was messed up. Like, I would be pissed.
I don't know how you slander your own player. I've never seen that happen before.
Dude, that's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen, bro. I'm not joking. Like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, I don't understand. You know what it is, right? I don't want to divert and go into that, but I'm just thinking, right? Sometimes when I see Italians do some stuff, because I see how the Italians do this, right? Because I've seen them do this one time. I think, right? Where they had like the picture of like the you know that picture that they had? And they said this was standing against racism, and they had like pictures and they had like gorillas and stuff. Like, bro, what is wrong with you people, man? Like, in my head, I'm like, bro, what is wrong with you people? Why do you guys always like shooting yourself in the foot? Right? Just apologize and move on. Like, I don't understand where you think of these things and just you said, this definitely is going to be a good idea. At the end of the day, right? When it comes to Osimhen, and this is my thing, when Pep Guardiola was at Barca, yes, he couldn't deal with Eto'o. Eto'o was a personality. That was a big mistake getting rid of Eto'o, because he ended up having Ibrahimovic, and that was even worse. And Eto'o went on to do well after he left Barca, right? Yaya Toure was another one. See, my thing is this, right? There are certain managers. I respect managers who can deal with personalities. You understand what I'm saying, right? I'm not saying that a player needs to always stand up to the manager. Because if you have a player that is always standing up to you, I'm sorry, I don't want to be managing a player that's always standing up to me all the time, right? But if I have a player that has an opinion, and that's all it is, you can have your opinion. You can say, listen, I think that this is how we should do it. I think that this is the best way to do it, right? That's fine. But if you're someone who's always saying, nah, I'm going to do things my way, all right, then get out. Go do your thing. Go do your thing your own way somewhere else, right? Yeah. And the thing with me is, at the end of the day, if Osimhen is a personality, we've never heard that Gyökeres is a personality. What's the whole deal?
No, it's strictly about price. He feels, because everyone wants Gyökeres, his price is, over the top. And he is scared that we would... Look, PSG, we're a rich club. We throw this 90 million. Gyökeres comes. Even if he fails, we get another one. We get another one. That's what a serious club does. It doesn't look at the past. It strictly looks at the present and the future. How can we improve? And we shouldn't be scared of taking risks. Look, even when Barca bought Dembele, Griezmann, Coutinho, all of those are, considered either flops or close to flops.
Yes,
but
close to fair.
That shouldn't scare Barca from going out and putting 120 on another player, because it doesn't matter. Sometimes you fail, sometimes you succeed. You shouldn't be scared. Perez is scared. When he had that window when they signed Jovic, Hazard, like so many flops. Since then, he's barely made any transfers. He makes like one transfer every single window, which has also meant that the Madrid squad is fucking ass now, because he just goes, as you said, like PSG, just superstar. Mbappe, Bellingham. I mean, Tchouameni is not superstar, but he was bought for 100 million. So
Dude,
it's like,
and you know what's crazy? People don't even talk about it. That guy has flopped too.
Yeah,
he's like, bro, you know what's funny? I always have to debate Madrid fans. I'm like, yo, every time I watch Tchouameni, I don't see what you guys are telling me. You guys are telling me this guy is good. I'm sorry. When I watch Camavinga, I can see why people talk about him, because I've watched him enough. But Tchouameni, bro, is not doing anything special for me to be like, oh, this is why they spend this amount of
exactly
money on him. Right? You've seen now how the Madrid fans are treating him, right? He's been linked outside of Madrid after 2 seasons of being there?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But that is the point, isn't it? At the end of the day, as a footballer, right? As a club, big clubs take huge risk. It's that simple. At the end of the day, Enrique, this is not your money. And this is where I think about. I'm like, bro, this is not even your money. I don't know why you're acting like you're the one that's taking this money out of your pocket to buy these players. You understand what I'm saying, right? The club have said we will spend as much as we need to at least challenge for the Champions League or have a shot of winning it every year.
Yeah,
you should be going out and saying, okay, well, if that's the case, then guess what? I want this striker. Give me this guy. Like, someone like Mourinho. I look at Mourinho, I'm like, people don't like Mourinho, but one thing about Mourinho is if Mourinho goes to a club where they can give him anything he wants, bro, he would just go in and just buy any player he wants. That's all he wants. He's like, yo, just give me the money, just give me the bag. I'll go and get the players and I'll win you trophies. It's that simple. And the thing with Mourinho is, a lot of people think that he finished. And listen, I don't think he's the same manager, but I've always said, for me, right, when it comes to Mourinho, when was the last time Mourinho went to a club where he was actually given everything he ever wanted? It's been a while.
I don't know, maybe Chelsea?
Yeah, Chelsea in his first run when they won the league, right? That was probably the last time he ever went to a club where they literally gave him all the cash he wanted and he just bought players, right? Everywhere he goes, he buys players, but most of the time, he's always ended up saying, yo, I wanted this player, I wanted that player, but the club didn't want to give him to me. I'm like, you know what's crazy, right? I think that if you guys hired Mourinho around, let's say, after he left United, after you guys sacked Tuchel, if you guys had went and got Mourinho, I think that would have actually been good. I'm not saying long term it would have worked out. I don't think it would have worked long term. However, he would have probably won you guys a Champions League, because if he had Mbappe in his team, if he had Neymar in his team, if you came in and he said, listen, okay, you have all these players. Listen, here's a blank check. Go and sign any player you want, and in return, I want you to win the Champions League for me in 2 seasons. 2 seasons, right? He would just go and buy all the players, and then in 2 seasons he will win the Champions League, and maybe things might fall off, but at least then he will win you guys a Champions League. You understand what I'm saying? Which is what PSG are looking for. PSG's whole idea of why you guys have been spending money, because listen, you win the league every year, you win the cups every year. The only thing you guys haven't won is the Champions League. So at some point, you have to just sit there and say, listen, man, we won the Champions League. You understand what I'm saying, right? Yeah. What do we do? What do we do? You understand what I'm saying? We need the Champions League. So at the end of the day, that's how I look at it. And when I look at the PSG team, I'm like, listen, at the end of the day, it has potential. This team has potential. I think that you have a lot of players I rate very highly. I rate Vitinha. Jean Neves was actually a player who was highly rated at Benfica. I haven't seen enough of him yet to really judge him, right? Nuno Mendes is a good fullback, right? What's his name? The Brazilian that you guys got. What's the name of the Brazilian?
Beraldo?
Yeah, Beraldo. What do you think of him? I haven't seen enough of him.
So Beraldo, when he came, he was really good. It was really great for us versus Real Sociedad away in the UCL. But ever since the game versus Barca, the first leg versus Barca, I remember Leva had a great game against him. Ever since then, like his confidence has fallen off, and he hasn't played that much. So he's like the talent is there at the moment. His confidence hasn't been there for a while. But no, I think we have one of the top squads in Europe, and it's one of the youngest squads in Europe as well, which means it will only get better with time.
Yeah.
There seems to be two problems. The squad needs to be strengthened, both depth-wise and starting-wise. And I do think that Luis Enrique has to adapt his tactics, because I think his tactics suit a team that's in its prime. Like MSN at Barca, it's suited. At the moment, he's failing the same way he failed with the Spanish national team.
Yes.
In the sense where he's playing football like he has an 87 rated team. You have to play the football that suits your players. At the moment, PSG has an average of 81, 82 on FIFA. Play the way that suits those players. He's playing the way if he had Messi, Neymar, and Suarez on the pitch. He doesn't. He has other kinds of players. This is a very young team, which means it's very energetic. It's a very unselfish team. Use it. Press, kill every team by pressing. Run the entire game. Go into challenges. Rotate. There's no ego. You don't have to focus about, oh, can I sub him out? Is he getting enough goals? No. But yeah, so I don't know what he's doing. I really don't know what he's doing.
I mean, I completely hear that. And listen, we're going to be wrapping up soon. But listen, so what is your expectations for the rest of the season, honestly, as a PSG fan from now?
I always say you should never make predictions when you have low confidence. And at the moment, because we're so bad, my confidence is low. So at the moment, I'm strictly looking at next game. One game at a time. I'm looking at the Angers game, then the Toulouse, then the Bayern. I don't really have any expectations or stuff for the season. But I'm always going to stick to the expectations I went into the season with, which was win the league, win the Super Cup, win the Coupe, the Copa del Rey, Coupe de France in France, and in the UCL, do at least similarly to what we did last year, which is reach the semi-final. If we do go out in the quarters in a I don't know, a fishy way, I would take that as well. But yeah, at least quarters, semifinals, that's the expectation. So I'm just going to keep it like that. And even though we're really bad now, everything can change. I remember, for example, Bayern last season, nobody expected anything from Bayern. They were so bad under Tuchel. They went on to reach a Champions League semi-final and nearly beat Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. So just because we're bad now doesn't mean we're bad later. Just the likelihood is much higher. So yeah, my expectations, at least a semi, win everything domestically.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, man. Listen, at the end of the day, in the past, I would say the past 10 years, our clubs have been facing each other too many times. I don't know. I don't think you have a lot of good things to say about my club, because I'll tell you the truth, man. Like, I don't know, man. Like, you know what's funny, right? Every time we play PSG, right, I got to a point where I was like, well, PSG are like that nauseating fan who just never wants to leave you alone, bro. Every time, bro, we play these guys, bro. Like from the moment you guys were bought and you guys were like in the Champions League in the beginning, right? Remember your first years, right? We would play you guys in the Champions League. We played you guys. I remember I think was it like your second year in the Champions League, and we drew like both games where we knocked you guys out, but we drew 2-2 at the Parc des Princes, and then we drew 1-1 at the that was in 2013. Right, and in 2014, funny enough, we played each other again, and this was the one where we actually played each other 4 times. Do you remember? We actually played in
the group stage and then the knockout stages.
In the knockout stages, we beat you guys twice, and then obviously we all remember what happened in Neymar's last season, the 6-1, the 4-0 to 6-1, and you know, last few times we played each other, you've knocked us out of the Champions League. But I'll say this, right? PSG. I've not really had a lot of good things to say about your club, man. But listen, it is what it is. Listen, but listen, big ups to you. And listen, if there's any good news, Marseille lost at home today against Angers today.
I know.
3-1.
How? Oh yeah, they were 3-0 down at halftime, man.
Down at halftime. Yeah. Listen, man. Listen. You know what's funny? Like people disrespect Ligue 1 a lot. I don't watch a lot of Ligue 1, But I have a friend of mine who watches it constantly, right? And when I go and watch it with him, every time I'm watching, bro, there's always like something crazy happening in some game. I remember a few weeks ago, I was watching Nice against Saint Etienne, and they were like, what? They beat them like 8-0. I'm like, yo, people really disrespect this league. This league is actually very entertaining. It's just that it doesn't have the superstars, but it's so entertaining that people really disrespect it. It's actually a very, very entertaining league as far as like watching it. I'll be honest, because I watch a lot of football, I would rather watch Ligue, honestly, than watch the Premier League. And I'll tell you why. It's because at least with Ligue, I know that I can just stumble into an entertaining game somewhere, even when it's like mid-table. But listen. But before we do go, listen. Tell the people in the chat, who are watching right now, what do you have coming in your channel?
Later today, we'll have a pre-match podcast discussing the upcoming game versus Angers. Then we'll have, the usual stuff tomorrow. Watch along for Angers, post-match podcast. And obviously now the international break is coming up as well. And this is something new I've done on my channel. So during the international break, there will be a lot of gaming content. And we'll go back to FIFA content. We'll play a lot of pro clubs, maybe even a Call of Duty video. So during the international break, there will be a lot of not football content, but all of that will be back after the international break.
All right, listen, guys. Make sure you listen. If you guys are not subscribed, make sure you go subscribe to PSG in it. All right, guys. Big ups to my guy every single time. Listen, we will be having a show like this in the future, obviously. Hopefully, what if our clubs are doing better by then? But listen, man, it's been an amazing stream. It's a little bit short this time because my guy has to go. Unfortunately, I have to go too because I have a lot of stuff I got to do. But listen, big ups to everybody who's here. Before we go, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe, turn on notifications, share this on all socials, and subscribe to my guy again, guys. And peace, you guys. Take care.